Miserable oldies like me can sometimes give young people a bit of a hard time, but not today. Definitely not today. Hi everyone, I'm Johnny Thompson and welcome to the Village Halls podcast sponsored by Allied Westminster, the UK's largest specialist provider of village hall insurance and the home of Village Guard. Now, I cannot believe how fast this year has gone by. It seems like 5 minutes ago since we announced the winners of our wonderful Villagers Awards. It was actually just before Christmas. Anyway, today I'm delighted to be joined by Sue Lees and Netty Firman from Grindon Village Hall in Stafforshire, who along with other committee members there nominated another one of my guests, Hannah Blissett, for our Young Persons Award. I'm also joined once again by Gavin Mitchell from show-sponsored Allied Westminster, who was our lead judge for this particular award category. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for coming on.
Hello, Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
Right, and at the Village Halls podcast, we always like to be honest with our audience. And so I think we should probably all admit that this is not the first time that we're trying to do this, because last night, what happened was we all came on, we all met online, and I started by asking Sue and Netty a question, and there was complete silence at the other end. And Hannah and I ended up having a lovely chat, but it wasn't the same without you two.
Oh.
So we're going to give it another try, and hopefully there won't be any technical hitches this time. But if I could start by talking to Sue and Netty about the village there of Grindon, as well as your fabulous village hall, of course.
Yeah, of course. So Grindon's in the Peak District, full of grit and limestone. We're a tiny village, just about 400 residents, very close-knit community, and it's quite dispersed as well. So the village hall for us is really the hub. We don't have a pub in the village anymore. Don't have a shop. So the only place we can gather is the village green in nice weather, especially with dogs, and the village hall.
And Sue, you've lived there for quite a few years, haven't you?
Yeah, 20 plus. I was there virtually I wasn't involved in the committee because I was working full time then. But yeah, when the hall first opened for events and things, we were very fortunate, my husband and I, to be involved.
Now, Netty, you haven't lived there as long as Sue, have you?
No, we moved up into Grindon 2.5 years ago, having lived in Warwickshire for 20 years. Had a big life change due to the pandemic, was going off travelling, and then turned everything on its head and decided we would move up here, having holidayed up here for a long time. It is the most beautiful village, far and away. It is just very special.
And Netty, you made the mistake of just turning up at the village hall sometime.
Well, no, actually, Sue, as soon as she knew I'd moved in, she approached me about joining the committee, and I'm like, okay, without actually thinking, well, what am I getting myself involved in? Yeah. And I haven't looked back, to be honest. I think I've been in the committee about 18 months.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And it's been brilliant. It's so much fun. The committee, we're very, very joined up. Yeah. Very supportive. We're only small. There's only 9 of us on the committee. So we have to work very closely together to plan events, run events, do all the clearing up. We do everything, as well as sort of encouraging the wider community to come support the events, because every event that we do is fundraising. So fundraising is very important, isn't it, Sue?
It is. I think it's fair to say what we try to do is hold enough events to pay for the annual running cost, the heating, lighting, etc. of the hall. And then we apply for grants and funding wherever we can for big projects. But with the support of the community, we are currently, and have been for a couple of years now, managing to cover the running costs, which is brilliant.
And you're obviously that one on the committee, Sue, that spots anyone new in the village and immediately reaches out and thinks there's someone else.
She's like a terrier.
I'm going to take exception to this. I do introduce myself and talk about the village and welcome people first. It isn't the first thing I say.
I'm joking.
It's a very important role, very important.
And Sue's our secretary, so she's very, very in the middle and at the middle and front of everything.
Yes, of
very
course.
Passionate about it all.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we saw that in you.
Then you
A
actually,
doer.
yeah, but you actually saw as well in Hannah that, bringing different people on board with different skills and experiences, because some of us have retired, some of us are still working, and we all bring something very different to the table. And I think Hannah, what she brings to the village hall and the community is just very special and unique.
Brilliant. Well, let's bring Hannah in, and both of you, Sue and Netty, along with others at the hall, you nominated young Hannah here for our Young Persons Award, an award which recognises the participation in someone who's younger than us.
You're a lot younger.
And that's quite. So Hannah, welcome to the show. And how does it feel knowing that people running your local village hall think you deserve an award like this?
Well, thank you, Johnny. I am very appreciative and grateful for all the opportunities that the committee has made and supported me with.
Yeah.
And to have won is just, I always think of myself as a smaller cog in the larger part of the committee, and I'm just so sorry.
She's getting very emotional, Johnny. She's very emotional.
I'm just so grateful, and the committee is they're all so hardworking, and I've witnessed that and been a part of it and tried to help with it, and have just tried to do my part really to make sure that people don't feel forgotten about and people feel recognised, and that we are able to celebrate what Grindon is and who makes it up, and that people in smaller communities remember everything that is bad, that is good. And so I've tried to do my part in creating wonderful memories of Grindon for people who are there for a long time or a short time, and that they know that Grindon is a place that they are welcome.
And Hannah, just to put the record straight for us, because I think you said you were 27 years old when we announced you as a winner. So now let's tell everyone how old you really are.
I am 26 years old.
There you go. How terrible it must be being 26, and for someone who thinks you're actually 27.
I think though Hannah's not. She's a very what's the word? Yeah, but she's not selling herself here, because she's brought a flair and creativity and energy to the committee that young people do. And because of her background in photography, and she can do all the social media and the design stuff, at a click on the computer.
I was going to say, let's save Hannah the embarrassment. You guys tell me, some of the things that Hannah's done for you, some of the contribution that she's made.
I'll start, Johnny, with my first memory was we went into the first lockdown when the pandemic started. And everyone in the village, myself included, was feeling very isolated and quite frightened. We'd lost all our interaction with each other as well as the outside. And Hannah just came up with the idea of starting a book swap in our local bus shelter. So at least people, knew and could have something to read and to occupy and at least see each other from a distance. And I know that really became sort of a popular thing for lots of people to do, but we were certainly the first in our local area, and we know other villages very quickly copied that idea. So she doesn't just have the idea, she then starts communicating that and getting out to the wider community. She starts doing posters that are appearing up in the village on the notice board. And so she just drove drove that forward then, and that's still a success today.
The thing that Hannah and I got involved together with last year was the village newsletter, which has been so warmly received by the community, particularly the elderly that aren't online, that don't have computers. But Hannah sort of took it on and created the most fantastic template. She created lovely articles, does create lovely articles. She's got great ideas. So we've got regular things like the gardening club, Paws and Claws was another one. Down to Earth, which is our local gardening enthusiast in the village who writes a quirky column for us every month.
Fantastic.
So that's something that it's been really great to work together on. I think Hannah's been really at the forefront of all of that.
What I'd like to know, Hannah, is what do you do for a living?
Well, what I do for a living is I'm a support assistant in a high school, and I predominantly help children and young people in language lessons, so French, Spanish. Je peux parler un peu de français? Hablo un poco español.
Merci beaucoup.
And so, I mean, how do you find the time with an occupation like that to do all of these things that Netty and Sue are talking about?
She never stops, John. Honestly, I will say, can we have a poster? And half an hour later, it's there because she is technically so competent, but her imagination allows it. Sorry, I'm not laying around. You wouldn't believe the speed she creates things with.
And she can't say no to us, really, can you?
No. Essentially, I find the time because if you love something, you make the time. And that's essentially what I have done over the past year and a bit for the Hall. And that, you know, they're a charitable organisation and no one, you know, if I'm not going to do it, then it's not going to happen. And I find the time by purely...
I think you should tell the listeners about how the village photography project came about, because that's really started before lockdown, when Hannah was going out and about and taking photographs and sitting down and finding out resident stories and bringing all that together. And that's still ongoing, really, isn't it? But that ended up with the actual photography project for the village hall,
Yes.
which has been a great success.
Yeah.
Stage 1, because we've got more to do, haven't we?
Yes. Well, stage, you know, before the whole project started, I was in 2016 when I was at university. I came back to Grindon and I was doing a project called Strangers, and I was thinking I can go to Grindon, I can knock on people's doors that I do not know and photograph them, listen to their stories, and that's exactly what happened. And
receive a welcome whilst you were doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's Grindon.
Yes, exactly. And that by the end of the conversation, we were no longer strangers. And from that point on, every time I saw those people, they were a friendly face. And it also started the idea of wanting to exhibit photography of the residents in the village hall and invite the residents to come and view the photographs and celebrate the community. And then last year, that's exactly what happened. And it all started from the committee wanting to decorate the hall in some way and giving me that responsibility. And so I resurrected the project. But the thing was that time had gone on and that they weren't strangers, they were my neighbours, they were my friends, and I approached various people, went into their homes and their farms and photographed them, and now those pictures are on the walls of the village hall. And we did a voting event where residents were invited to come and vote for their favourite ones, and that's how we decided which ones would decorate the walls. And it just feels so homely and welcoming now, and has just put the final touch on the village hall, I think. And
it sounds like you've developed what I would call a real connection with the community. And I know sometimes, people of our older generation get confused when we see younger people spending all of their time on the phone, on Facebook, on social media,
anyway,
and so on. I do get that. We all do it as well. You know what I mean? But I guess that's the key. One of the key things here, isn't it? Is it sounds like you've developed a real living connection with people, from what you're saying about your neighbours and so on.
Jenny, I think that's the absolute crux of it. That for a 26-year-old to have the ability to communicate with people of all ages and from all walks of life, and to, for them to feel she's their friend as well. She feels that for me that's the unique part that makes Hannah who Hannah is, because she's such a genuine, real person. People see that, and this ability to communicate across. That's I think that's quite unique, and it's unique to Hannah.
There's a particular resident in the village who is infirm, and when Hannah and I have delivered the newsletter to him, he actually gets very emotional, because he may not have seen anyone for a few hours, and it has made such a difference to him. He really enjoys receiving the newsletter, and obviously it's on paper, which we debated, should we just send it all out by email, but the committee were adamant that we have to be inclusive. And it is a cost to the village hall, but it's a cost that we think is really important to soak up.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Hannah, that you're unusual? I think I said at the beginning, sometimes young people are given a hard time, and it's completely unjustified. You care about the community as much as anyone else, don't you?
I do. I do think it's unique. I wouldn't say unusual, but I do think that it's unique that I'm involved with this committee, but I don't think that it should be a unique thing. I don't think it should be unusual. I think that young people need to get involved with village halls and their committees, because it's very important to carry on the legacy. The committees aren't always very big. Sometimes, like the Grindon one, it's only 9 people. It's not a massive amount of people, and in order for the village halls to continue their work, we need younger people to get involved to carry that on. And
completely,
I owe a lot of what I've done to the people on the committee for welcoming me and making me feel like there's a place for me to be involved. And I've essentially used what I love in photography and design and music, and
I forgot to mention that.
Music, yeah,
and quizzes, and using that in a community-based way.
And also, you're a thesp. You had a part in the murder mystery.
Yes,
we had a murder mystery fundraising event. And
this is interesting, because quite a serious issue here, because I do know that there's a lot of halls out there that feel exactly as you've said, Hannah, that they're concerned about being able to attract younger people, getting them involved, and obviously passing that baton on at some point. So while we've got you, what would your advice to those halls be? What should they be doing to attract people like you?
I think that most young people have a niche or something that they love or are passionate about, and that if you can find out what that is and slowly encouraging young people to get involved with the village hall in that aspect, I think that's the best way to do it. Just asking, if someone likes photography, could you take a few pictures of the quiz night? And then you never know, the next time that there's a quiz night or an opportunity to do a calendar, for example, that there's someone there to build those networks, potentially with other young people or other residents with. I think that's the thing, is finding out what people's passions are.
What they enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, attuning your behaviour, if you like, to
It's about relating to each other almost, isn't it? Because when I listen to this, I cast my mind back to when I was a youngster, and I found it difficult to relate to older people in many respects. Yet here I am now at the other end of the equation, and sometimes I find it difficult to relate to younger people. So what that almost tells you is that nothing really changes. We just change. But actually, young people and older people aren't really that much different. We all have passions, as you've described, Hannah, and we all have things that we can bring and contribute. It's just a case of getting to know each other a little bit better, almost, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think in a rural community, this has been my experience, having lived in urban areas all of my life. People are a little bit. They want to trust you, and that takes time. They're a little bit shy, and they just need to take it steady, and then you slowly have to build their trust. And I think that's exactly what you've done, Hannah, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And actually, I think it's allowed you as a person to really flourish with all your strengths, all your creativity, that you've put heart and soul into all this work at the village hall and the village community.
Yeah, it's feeling like you've got a sense of belonging, and that you are valued.
And maybe sometimes that isn't communicated well enough.
Yeah.
Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, sorry, I'm crying again.
It's getting very emotional.
Pull yourself together, Hannah.
Sorry, Johnny. Young people, we're ever so emotional. It's just, situations like this and feeling appreciated and recognised for things that I have done out of the love of it is just the most wonderful thing that the committee could have done, really.
Oh, tremendous.
Incredible. So it seems to me the message to village halls out there is that if you want to get young people involved, connect with them and start appreciating them in a positive way.
Yeah, I think young people they don't necessarily get a good press all the time, but I think they're fabulous, and I think we need to get them on board in all sorts of ways with all sorts of things.
Yeah.
They've got the energy, they've got the creativity, they're great at technology, and for us old school committee, Hannah's been involved in helping us set up our committee email, little things like that are a big deal to older people. And so she's done that as well, and she's set up a generic email that residents can send things to us, which we didn't have any of that before she got involved, did we, Sue?
No.
It was all on paper. Yeah. So with Hannah's input and support, I think we've really embraced technology. Actually, the big thing for us is, and that's why we're waiting for funding to become available, is the Wi-Fi for the hall, which again I think will take us to a new level. Because Hannah and I have talked about a film club for the village hall, and other ideas. So this is just the start, really. Yeah. Sorry,
tremendous,
Hannah.
And the other good thing is, if you've got someone like Hannah, you can then apply for a village halls award with the Village Halls podcast, and win £1,000 in prize money as well. Yeah. With the money going to the hall and not to you. Sorry, Hannah.
Okay. It's all for the community, Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
On that,
what are your plans for that? What are you going to do with the prize money?
Well, I think when we were successful, we asked Hannah what she thought we should use the money to. So I'll let Hannah tell you what she said.
So I suggested, at the minute, the village hall doesn't have a usable notice board. So I was designing all these posters using my valuable time for the community
and your colouring
and my colouring on my printer, producing these posters to advertise the events, and they weren't being shown to their full ability or making the village hall look as good as it could be. And So I suggested that some of the money go towards a notice board for the village hall, so advertisements and promotions can go in there, and it will represent what goes on inside the village hall, because it's
to it.
Yeah, it'll be next to it, and it will be just as beautiful as the village hall is inside, and the memories that take place there. So that was my sort of suggestion.
Fantastic.
So we're taking that forward.
Yeah.
So and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Allied Westminster for the money.
No problem.
And for all of the judging panel who chose Hannah.
No problem.
I think we said at the start, the reason we nominated her is because we wanted her to know how much we appreciated her. And her winning is, for me anyway, personally, is just the icing on the cake. Yeah. It was letting Hannah know what she means to us. That was the catalyst for the nomination, really.
Yeah, and I'm going to let her head teacher know as well. I think the school that she works at needs to know how fab she is, but I think they already know that.
I honestly, I think it's fantastic. What I like most about this is just hearing you together, talking about the same thing, in essence, and that's lovely, because it doesn't just shows, doesn't it? It doesn't matter how old you are, or what any of your differences might be. If you've got a combined purpose, if you like, if you've got something that you believe in, then you're going to work together to achieve that.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And at most of the village hall events that happen, at one point in the night, you'll usually find the three of us in a corner,
plotting,
chatting, planning. What are we going to do next?
Well,
who
great.
can we rope in?
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, listen, thanks to all of you for coming on. Congratulations, Hannah, with your Young Persons Award.
Well deserved.
Thanks for your nomination, Sue and Netty as well, and everyone else in the committee there at the hall. And thanks to all of you just for being all around fantastic.
Oh, thanks for having us on your programme.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, to all of you for what you do for your community. It's tremendous.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
And keep listening in, folks, as we'll have an announcement about this year's awards coming up in the next few months. Hopefully we'll also be talking to more of last year's winners as the year moves on. Otherwise, that's all we have time for this time. Gavin, as always, thanks for your headline sponsorship.
That's my absolute pleasure, Johnny.
And specialist insurance provision from Allied Westminster, and for making our podcast possible, of course. And you can find out more about Allied Westminster at villageguard.com, and also the online booking system provider Hallmaster, who also sponsor our podcast and can be found at hallmaster.co.uk. You've been listening to the Village Halls podcast, a unique listening community for Britain's village, church and community halls, and anyone interested in the vital community services they provide. We'll be back again soon with another episode. For more information, please visit thevillagehallspodcast.com, where you'll also find links to our social media pages. Thanks again for listening in, and until the next time, goodbye for now.